Hey, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome! Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video, and if this one helps you out, a like means a lot to us. Let's get into it. Think about the last time you paid for something significant in cash. Not a small purchase, something that required you to count out bills, hand them over, and watch them leave your hand. There is a specific feeling in that moment that is different from tapping a card or clicking pay online. Something that makes you pause slightly, that makes the purchase feel more real, more deliberate, more considered. That feeling has a name in consumer psychology research, and it turns out it is one of the most significant factors influencing how much money you spend. And that is not just in that transaction, but across your entire financial life. Today, we are going into the research on why people consistently spend more when they pay with a card than when they pay with cash. What specifically happens in the brain during these two types of transactions? How the payment industry has systematically used this knowledge to make spending easier and more automatic. And what you can do with this information that actually changes your spending behavior. This is one of the most well-studied areas in behavioral economics, and the findings are consistently surprising in their scale. The foundational research comes from a pair of MIT professors, Drazen Prelec and Duncan Simester, who in the early 2000s ran a series of experiments studying how payment method affects what people are willing to spend. In one of their most cited experiments, they ran an auction for tickets to sold-out sporting events, high-demand, high-value items that participants genuinely wanted. Half the participants were told they would pay by cash if they won. The other half were told they would pay by credit card. The credit card group bid, on average, more than twice as much for identical tickets as the cash group. Same item, same people, different payment method. The willingness to pay was not determined by how much participants valued the tickets. It was substantially influenced by how the payment would be made. What drives this effect is something Prelec and Simester named the pain of paying. When you hand over physical cash, something measurable happens in your brain. Neuroimaging research has since confirmed what their behavioral work suggested. Paying with cash activates regions associated with negative affect and mild discomfort in a way that card payment does not. The physical act of giving up something tangible, of watching a real object leave your possession, creates cognitive and emotional friction that makes spending feel like a genuine cost. That friction makes you more deliberate. It makes you reconsider. It creates a moment between wanting something and paying for it where your rational brain has an opportunity to weigh the decision. Credit and debit cards remove that friction almost entirely. When you tap a card or insert it into a terminal, the spending and the payment are separated. Not just in time, where credit cards create a gap of weeks between purchase and payment, but psychologically. The transaction is abstract. The amount is a number on a screen rather than an object leaving your hand. There is no physical sensation associated with the loss. The pain of paying is removed, and with it, a significant portion of the psychological resistance to spending. McDonald's provided one of the most commercially significant real-world demonstrations of this effect when they introduced card payment terminals across their locations. Average transaction size increased meaningfully when customers paid by card compared to cash transactions. People were more likely to add items, upgrade sizes, and make less deliberate choices about what they were ordering when no physical money was involved. The company did not publicize this as a behavioral psychology finding. They publicized it as an improvement to customer convenience, but the financial outcome was an increase in revenue per transaction, driven by the reduced deliberateness that card payment produced. Contactless payment made the same thing progressively worse. Inserting a card and entering a PIN creates slightly more pause than a tap. There is a moment of waiting, a moment of entering a number you know, a moment where the transaction is happening rather than having happened instantaneously. Tap-and-go payments and phone payments remove even that minimal friction. Apple Pay and Google Pay are specifically engineered to make the payment as invisible as possible. A fraction of a second, a haptic buzz, done. From a product design standpoint, this is presented as convenience, and in many ways it is. From a consumer psychology standpoint, it is the most frictionless spending experience ever built into a mainstream payment method, and the behavioral consequences follow accordingly. Online shopping and saved payment information take this further. When your card details are saved on a website, the entire sequence of events that constitutes a purchase, finding the item, deciding to buy it, getting out a payment method, entering details, confirming, is compressed into 1 or 2 clicks. Amazon's one-click purchase feature, which the company patented and defended aggressively for years because of its commercial value, reduces the purchase decision to a single tap, with no intervening steps requiring any deliberateness. The patent expired in 2017, and within a short period, most major online retailers had implemented equivalent instant purchase systems. The deliberateness that would naturally exist in any significant purchase is almost entirely engineered away.
Budget awareness is where the practical consequences of this become most visible in day-to-day financial life.
People spending cash have a built-in tracking system for their spending that requires no app or tool. The physical wallet gets lighter. The denominations available provide a natural sense of how much has been spent and how much remains. When you have $40 left in your wallet, you know you have $40 left. You can see it, you can feel it. This creates a natural resistance to unplanned spending that requires no conscious effort to maintain.
Card spending provides no equivalent feedback.
Research on spending recall consistently finds that card users significantly underestimate how much they have spent compared to cash users, even when asked shortly after the transactions. The abstract nature of card transactions means they leave less of a cognitive trace than cash transactions of equivalent size. The spending happened, but it does not feel like it happened in the same way, which makes it harder to accurately track, harder to remember, and harder to feel the cumulative weight of.
Tipping behavior is one of the clearest illustrations of this in everyday life.
Studies examining tipping patterns across payment methods consistently find that people tip more on card transactions than on equivalent cash transactions. The average tip percentage on card payments is measurably higher than on cash payments at the same type of establishment. This is partly why tip prompts on card terminals have migrated upward over the past decade. The starting suggestion on many terminals is now 18 to 20% rather than the traditional 15%. And why restaurant operators have actively encouraged card payment. The reduced pain of paying that cards produce translates directly into larger tips, and everyone with an interest in larger tips has recognized this and designed their systems accordingly.
Rewards cards are the element of this system that most directly converts the psychology of spending into a deliberate commercial product.
A standard rewards credit card, cashback, points, miles, does something sophisticated. It associates spending with receiving. Every time you use the card, you earn something. Your brain registers a gain alongside the loss, which partially offsets the mild negative affect that would otherwise accompany spending, even in the reduced form that card payment produces. The net psychological result is that spending on a rewards card feels better than spending on a non-rewards card. And the behavioral consequence is what the credit card industry's own data consistently shows. Rewards card users spend more on average than non-rewards card users, typically by enough that the increased spending significantly exceeds the value of the rewards earned. The rewards program pays for itself many times over through the behavioral change it produces in cardholders. Buy now, pay later services are the most recent evolution of payment friction removal, and the research on their behavioral effects is consistent with what came before, but amplified. Services like Afterpay, Klarna, and Affirm take the credit card's deferral of payment and make it explicit and structured. The purchase happens today, and the cost is divided into 3 or 4 payments spread over weeks. The psychological effect of this is that the cost that appears relevant to the purchase decision is not the full price of the item, but the first installment. A $100 item becomes $25 today. Research on buy now, pay later users shows higher average transaction sizes than equivalent card transactions, higher rates of purchasing items that would not have been purchased at full price, and higher rates of purchasing multiple items simultaneously across different buy now, pay later arrangements in a way that creates cumulative debt that was not fully visualized at any individual decision point. The payment structure is designed around a cognitive limitation, our tendency to weight near-term costs more heavily than future costs, and it produces predictable and documented spending behavior as a result. Understanding all of this creates a clear picture of why the trajectory of payment technology over the past 40 years has moved consistently in one direction, toward less friction, less deliberateness, and more automatic spending behavior. And who has benefited from that trajectory? Payment companies earn interchange fees on every card transaction. Retailers sell more when payment is frictionless. Credit card companies earn interest and fees at higher rates when cardholders carry balances that grow more easily when spending feels less real. The infrastructure of modern payment is not designed around helping consumers spend deliberately. It is designed around around the commercial interests of the parties who benefit from consumers spending more. The practical response to this does not require going back to cash for everything, which creates its own security and convenience problems and is not a realistic lifestyle recommendation for most people. It requires building back some of the deliberateness that the payment system has removed. Checking your bank account balance before a significant unplanned purchase does some of the work that handling cash did naturally. It makes the amount real and current rather than abstract and future. Setting up real-time transaction notifications creates a post-purchase moment where you see immediately what you spent, which builds spending awareness even after the transaction. Deleting saved payment information from websites creates the friction that one-click checkout removed. Reviewing your card transactions weekly rather than monthly keeps spending from accumulating invisibly over a 4-week window before you look at it. None of these are difficult habits. All of them compensate partially for the deliberateness that frictionless payment has taken away. The scale of the effect is worth sitting with for a moment, because research estimates that card users spend on average 10 to 15% more than cash users on equivalent purchases across their overall spending. For a household running $3,000 a month through cards, which is moderate for most families covering groceries, fuel, utilities, and discretionary spending, 10 to 15% is $300 to $450 a month, $3,600 to $5,400 a year. Not because of different products or different prices or different incomes, because of the payment method and the psychological mechanism it activates. The payment method is not a neutral tool. It is a behavioral environment. And like every other behavioral environment discussed on this channel, grocery store layouts, package labeling, subscription pricing, it was not designed with your spending discipline in mind. Drop a comment with whether you have ever tried the cash-only challenge for a week or a month and what happened to your spending. We genuinely read every single one. And if you want us to do a full video on the psychology of why people buy things they never use and what to do about it, let us know below. Hit the like button if this was useful, subscribe and tap the bell if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.